So anyways, the last two runs I did were terrible. I wiped out horribly. I don't know if it was just because I was tired, because I think today today is today is actually Wednesday, the 10th. But I believe the last time I played was probably either Sunday or Monday. I believe I was either dieting or something, and I just didn't play very good. It was really pathetic. My gameplays were really pathetic. It also could have been because I was trying to get the boons, the duo boons, and sabotaging my build. Instead of getting the best items, the best boons, I was focusing on finishing the achievements and prophecies. That could have been it. I don't know. Also, it could have been because I was listening to YouTube while playing. But then again, the second time I played, when I wiped out hard, I wasn't listening to YouTube. So maybe that wasn't it. Who knows? 10,000 darkness. 54 attempts. This is my 55th attempt.
Ah, he's strong, I'll give him that.
Alright. Oh, who's there?
Welcome to the House of Hades.
Okay. Oh, he's not here because he beat me last.
You know, mate, sometimes I worry that you're taking my tall tales rather seriously. You're not really...
Come now, my friend. I know this is a test of faith. Of course I am.
What have I done?
He believes the fake lies.
Achilles, sir, you happen to know whether Father authorized the transfer of a Macedonian Tau Lambda chariot to Elysium in recent memory? I ran into the former hero Theseus all joyriding about in one of those.
Yep, I remember that one. That was when I got the Poseidon achievement for the Pact of Punishment. Elysium boss.
I know the chariot you mean.
Third boss.
It's not just any Macedonian. It's modified, apparently by Daedalus himself. No earthly weapons can do what it does. Though, please don't tell me Theseus put on that mask.
He did.
What, you mean the golden matching mask? I saw him wearing it all right. Looked like a proper fool, I thought. What of it, though?
Well, I think that Daedalus would certainly agree. Heard that he fashioned that mask and outfit as a little joke. For someone deeply prideful and well unaware. It must have suited Theseus quite well then, yes?
That it did, most definitely, sir. I hope it's not been too much, having to care for Cerberus, is it, Dusa? He isn't quite as fearsome as he seems. At least, that goes for 2 heads out of 3.
Oh, Cerberus is a good boy. He's fine. One of the highlights of the job for sure. We really hit it off after he finally realized I'm not a ball. So I've been feeding him, grooming him, changing his water dish.
Yeah, after realizing
Cleaning up after him?
Most definitely, yes. If you'll excuse me, by the way, he's gotta go. I mean, I've gotta go. I mean, you know what I mean. Bye.
Fates be merciful. Somehow I always knew, you know, that you were not my birth mother. I mean, look at Hypnos and Thanatos. There's no way that I could have been related to them. Everybody knew, and yet, when I finally learned for certain, it was still a shock.
I always knew, in turn, that you would learn the truth of it eventually. And I was fearful of what would occur after that time arrived. I'm grateful it has come and gone. Though, tell me, I still find I call you child. Is your preference that I cease to use such terms from this point on?
No, Nyx, please, it's quite all right. You may not have given birth to me, but you still cared for me. I never doubt that. Likewise, are you sure it's all right that I continue to address you by name?
It is more than all right, my child.
I also just noticed that arts between was Zagreus and his mother are almost in a way they have to have been made by the same artist, because they have like a handwriting to them, the same type of strokes. Hard to explain.
Head chef?
And if you look at Nyx's art, hers is big or different.
Here's all I caught. Done deal.
Okay, maybe she's in the garden.
Should check the garden. This garden isn't quite the sight yours was back on the surface, is it, Mother?
See, his is kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like autumn or something, and hers is the same.
On the contrary, Zagreus. It has its own unique charm, as each garden does. I was impressed it wasn't left entirely to rot after my absence.
She even has the same autumn leaves on her head. And it's got like the same type of wind, whereas the Nyx's wind is kind of like around her, whereas Zagreus and Persephonine's wind is all in one direction, kind of like a fall wind. I just noticed that just now. I never really thought to think about that.
It was totally off limits to me.
Oh, and the
Though I
belt's
guess
the same
Father must
too.
have taken care to maintain it as
Similar.
best he could.
He did, all right. Minus the part where you weren't allowed. Though, let's look after it from here, shall we?
Sounds good.
I mean, whoever did the art for this game is a genius. I mean, the art and the writing is just so good. I think that's the problem. The number one problem with woke media is that their art and media is sacrificed for the message.
Prophecy fulfilled.
Oh, I finished the spear. Haha. The last spear that I got was horrible. It was like you couldn't even dash. It was like reduce your dash distance by half. That pretty much killed me.
Baratha, has there ever been a greater spear?
No, it was the worst spear ever. Still need 2 more, lightning rod and low tolerance. I need to get slippery. Let me type this down. Jot down the note of what I need to get the primordial bane from chaos. Come on. As I load it up. There we go. Go down here. We'll say chaos. We need slippery. Okay. Just put from chaos. Need slippery. Okay. Blade, I'm not going to worry about that because it'll be marked. Dragon level. What's this? Shield. Need the hidden aspects. So I think I died with this one, the shield, before I even got to the very end. I'm not sure why it was bad. I think the shield just sucks, possibly. I don't know how to get Cloner. I really have no idea. Other than use all the packs of punishment till I get it. I believe the well churn, these things will show up eventually. They'll be marked, so I don't have to worry about remembering. That's pretty much it. Don't have any darkness to purchase anything. We're on the 55th run. 10 minutes in already. And we are doing the gun.
Let's go with this one.
Which one was the best gun? I forgot.
A hidden aspect. This Lucifer won't be needing it.
Oh, this is the one that pulses. Nah. I'm gonna try the basic
Myself.
one. Basic gun. And since I need I need Aphrodite's, Dionysus, Artemis, and Zeus. I'm gonna focus on one of these pairs, which you can't see it. Aphrodite, Dionysus, Artemis, and Zeus. I have to focus on one of these pairs because if I accidentally focus on 4 of them, well, maybe I could get with focusing on 4 of them. But then it'll give me the duo for Artemis, Dionysus, and Aphrodite and Zeus, like it always does. But we'll start with Zeus because I like Zeus's powers. They're really good. Should I upgrade? How much does this give me? 4 uses. I've been using all 4 uses every single time. Is this the last, right?
Feedy, you're all set.
Maxed out. Maxed out Dusa. That is the #1 waifu. Or technically. We're up to 6. Holy moly! 6 is way high. What am I gonna do with all this? Alright, let's see, what can we do? What can we do? Should I put a timer, a deadline? Sure. Oh, 7 minutes is too much. 9 minutes. We'll do 9 minutes. It's not that much of a penalty, I think I'm fine with that timer. You have fewer choices between food. Ooh, that's painful. Do not want that. I'll take that. Damage control is not that bad with the gun since I shoot a lot. So the first one gets, the first shield gets removed fast. What's the other one say? Oh. Okay, 2 shields. Sure. I can lower that down if I want to. Mirror of Light deactivated. Probably not. Traps more dangerous. Overtime says all foes don't be attack note. Remove a boon. Ooh, that's painful. I mean, it's not. I guess it's not that bad, right? Middle ground of it. Sure, mini boss has +1. Alright. We're going with that. 2 shields. Two shields, timer, and extra tough mini boss. Oh, what's this? Did I leave that one on? Darn it. Extra damage? And do traps this time. With traps. Yeah. I don't mind traps. Traps, harder mini bosses, and time limit.
Time to break out again.
Let's go. Let's get the Zeus.
Why am I never proud of you? Don't take it personally, boy. I'm never proud of anything. Pride is perhaps our family's worst trait. See how many mortals are with us because of it.
A little pride's all right.
What the hell? Didn't give me Zeus. That's some BS. Okay, let's go ahead and let's watch some of this. California $20 minimum wage backfires, employees fired as well. You know what? This title's kind of misleading. Employees fired because the menu prices jumped. I think that's not 100% true. I think no, there's no way, because like they're already working on Skeleton Crews already, so they can't fire more people and then expect. What happens is that they just get less business. They raise the prices. They didn't fire them because of the menu prices. They fired them because they get less business due to the price hike. And why did they hike the price? Because the minimum wage went up. So that forced the greedy CEOs to raise the prices because they're not willing to take a pay cut. That the whole problem is that the CEOs will not take a pay cut. They will always be freaking billionaires and never share it with the commoners. And as long as the person in charge can always screw over his employees, he always will.
We have a story from your post. California's $20 fast food minimum wage balloons menu prices, with
Time to
some
mix up my
chains
style.
increasing costs by nearly $2. All
go,
these laws do is literally just destroy your economy. Okay? So, let's see what we have. Do they have the photos here?
Not 100% true, but they do make the economy worse. Doesn't destroy it though. I think any laws will kill capitalism, and the reason why is because they choose, for example, they allow some corporations or some businesses to have monopolies, and the others do not. They allow rules for different businesses and or different competitors to make it so that the people who are bribing the politicians or the businesses that bribe the politicians make more money, and so that ruins capitalism, and so it becomes an oligarchy or what's the opposite of capitalism? Whatever capitalism is not. It becomes some kind of messed up thing where the government chooses the winners in business, not the other way around, not the actual business itself. And that's why I don't like Microsoft taking over everything, but they're literally buying out all kinds of corporations, and they're monopolying like crazy, and government won't stop them, of course.
There was one photo, I thought they had it, where the prices were, here we go. Okay, so they do have the double menu. Okay, here we go. So this one's Burger King. A Whopper meal was $11.89. What is it now? $12.49. A Texas Double Whopper was $15. What's a Texas? $16.89. Whoa, went up by $1.80? That's crazy. And then you look down at In-N-Out, and it was double. It's a double meat, double cheeseburger, $5.65. Now it's $5.90. They have just increased the price of all the food because you passed a law saying you got to pay more. You didn't change anything. In fact, the only thing that changed was they don't have the additional money in their coffers, so they fire people until they can get there.
That is not true. They don't have additional money in their coffers. It's not true. The reason why is because the CEOs are getting pay raises still, and the only people that are losing the money are the common workers. There you go. As long as the CEO is making more money every year, you're not allowed to say they're short on money in their coffers. No, it's just they should go out of business because they're giving all the money to the CEOs. Just like all those federal bankers in 2008 should have went out of business because they broke the law and committed fraud and caused a recession. But the corrupt politicians allowed the banks that were going to go bankrupt to get bailed out by people. Same with all those other businesses that went out of business, like the GM Motors went bankrupt, but it was bailed out by the taxpayers. This is the corrupt government choosing who's winners and choosing who's the losers. And they chose that the federal banks, who are literally breaking the law, committing fraud, felonies, would stay in business. They chose GM should stay in business, even though they should have went out of business. And once again, they'll do the same thing for the fast food industries. Those corporate chains, they'll never do the right thing where they force the CEOs to take a pay cut. They will never do that. They will never address the difference in pay between the CEO and the lowest worker in their business. What they should do is that if any owner is making crap tons of money relative to their employees that are on welfare, well, then the owner should take a pay cut. That's what they should say, but they will never do that. Or they should say that the owner has to pay more to compensate for making more people on welfare, to compensate by paying their fair share of taxes, which they are not.
I talked to a guy, an accountant. New Jersey was raising the minimum wage, and it was going up like 50 cents. And he was like, it's going to go up 50 cents in 6 months, 50 cents more. We're talking about a year. This is going to be a 10% increase. Now imagine you're a business, you have thin margins. Your margins could be 10%. And now you're seeing a 10% labor cost increase. So now your margin is 2%. Of course you're going to raise your prices. But if you raise your prices, people are going to shop. They're going to see your prices are too expensive.
Razor thin margins? I'm calling bullshit on that right now. How much does the CEO of McDonald's make? The CEO, now chairman of McDonald's, was paid $19.2 million last year. $19.2 million a year, which is a 8% increase from last year. He got an 8% increase. That is higher than inflation. If the CEO of McDonald's is getting paid $90 million and his raise was higher than inflation, why can't he pay his minimum wage workers the same rate increase? You know why? It's because he's cutting them out, because he can legally get away with it. And the government the corrupt politician will never punish him for taking a higher pay increase, and while simultaneously causing taxpayers to pay for his workers who are not getting paid enough to make a living wage. Instead, the government should tax this guy. Well, I bet you this guy's probably paying 0% tax, but just like every single rich person in all of America. Donald Trump admitted that every single rich person that has revealed their tax rates have revealed that they paid 0% interest on their wages. I mean, why do you have to lie like that? I would never think that Tim Pool would lie, but he's lying right now. This CEO who took an 8% pay increase, a higher increase than inflation. I mean, what the hell, man? This guy's a moron. Tim didn't even do his research, and it's so basic research, just basic. Anyway,
He said when they put in the increase, I think he said something like 20% of my clients.
If it isn't the one and only rail of
And it's
adamant
because in their bank right now, they have $10,000 and they got to make payroll, and the money comes in, and when the money goes out, and there's a little bit on top. They set up a rainy day fund, and then when they do this dramatic change, they're like, we don't have the extra $1,000 to make payroll. What do? Shut her down. Take the money that we have left. We'll keep it for ourselves, and we'll try and start something else.
Understaffed. We had a bill, Virginia House of Delegates, raising the minimum wage in Virginia statewide. So keep in mind, the Loudoun County is the wealthiest county in America. Oh yeah, Loudoun County is the wealthiest. Lee County, Virginia, the median individual income is $18,000. So they were going to change the minimum wage for all of Virginia to $13.50 an hour. Drastically. Right now it's 11. Oh yeah, Loudoun County doesn't care. In fact, all the legislators carrying and cheering this on are all coming from counties that are significantly wealthier than the poorer counties in Virginia. And when you point this out, and this is one of the things I hate, when people get up and you're supposed to explain your bill. They don't explain the bill. They give you their hopes and dreams and aspirations for what they hope their bill will do. And so this bill is going to lift people out of poverty. This bill's going to, I said, you know what this bill does? Like technically, does everyone want to know what it legally does? You will make it illegal to offer someone a job for $13.49 or less. That's all the bill does. You hope it will do all these other things, but what it actually does is make it illegal. Think about that for a second. You've got a county where the median individual income is $18,000 a year. We're making $12 an hour is a pretty good gig. Nope, illegal. You can't do it. Why? Because a bunch of representatives who know this much about economics and who know it's not going to actually affect them get to go on TV and talk about.
to be fair, the little bit that I was listening to this guy, I instantly called him out for knowing a little bit about economics. These morons don't know that there is not a thin margin with franchises like McDonald's. They're conflating small business with big business fast food restaurants. You cannot do that. You cannot pick and choose, cherry pick examples and apply it to everything. No. And that's the problem with their argument. They're picking on the small businesses that are going out of business because they can't pay their workers, and then blanket marketing the entire thing, saying everything's like, no. The problem is not the small businesses. The problem are the humongous franchises that are taking 8% increases in pay and giving the workers minus 4% pay, and then pretending like that's normal. And the biggest problem is not these businesses. The problem is the corrupt government. You see, if the government provided ways for the people to work and make money, for example, if they had like side jobs that paid less than minimum wage, so it gave everybody an easy job to make a little bit of money on the side. Nobody would want to work at McDonald's because they could just easily get these cheap jobs and still get welfare. See, people probably work at McDonald's and get welfare because they have no choice. And that's because of the government. And if the government created incentives or things that would allow people to work different jobs that are not for the corporate sponsors, aka the people who bribe the government into doing these corrupt things, they would never be a problem. The issue is almost solely on the government, but it's in a different way. And these guys are morons. They don't understand economy at all. The problem is that people don't have a choice. It's really hard to find a different job. It's really hard to create your own business because there's so many government loopholes that makes it possible for the corporations to get away with it, whereas an individual cannot. If it was possible for an individual to create his own service or own job, then of course they would do that because they would make more money doing their own job, doing their own business, than working for McDonald's. Now, unfortunately, because the government is corrupt and they have so much bureaucracy, no individual can get away with making their own money, being their own business, because the government will lock them down, destroy them. That's a problem. And they will never address that. Minimum wage is just a symptom of a root problem that started with the government making it impossible to have your own business, your own job, or do anything. For example, being your own. Let's say, for example, you want to be like a delivery driver. Unfortunately, you can't even do that because I don't know. It's like stupid. I mean, you could, but let me think. Oh yeah. For example, like when, let's say DoorDash, okay? DoorDash would be you would be allowed to sue DoorDash because they give different they treat people differently. So you could sue DoorDash because they will treat somebody that accepts low paying orders better than they treat somebody that only accepts high paying orders. But that's not really a good example. Because that's more closer to capitalism than anything. Let me think. What would be better? A better example. Mowing lawns, anything that illegal immigrants are doing. if it wasn't for illegal immigration, it'd be easier to have your own business because you wouldn't have to compete with illegal immigrants. And the wage is just destroyed so much. Back in the days, I used to do lawn mowing when I was like 12 years old. I would get paid $10 per lawn, and that was a lot back then before inflation. Now, the same work would pay $30 per lawn, but guess what? You can't do that because there's always an illegal immigrant to do it. So back in the days, back 30 years ago, the government wasn't as corrupt, whereas they were flooding the country with legal immigrants that was still, I wouldn't say steal jobs, but they would compete against jobs that American-born people should be doing. So that's one example of the root problem, which was caused by a corrupt government. And, I'm not paying my taxes so that the military could ignore the borders. No, I pay my taxes so that the military will protect the borders on a federal level. But they don't even do that. The only thing the military does is they do things for the richest 0.0001%. So they protect their money, or they make them more money by stealing resources and giving it to the rich people. So there you go. And that's why the richest people should be paying 99% more taxes, aka because they're receiving 99% of the sources they're receiving 99% of the stuff from the government, aka military.
how much they care about the working poor, when in reality they just cost their jobs, they cost their hours, or they made everything they're going to buy more expensive anyways, which will eat into the supposedly pay increase that they got.
Who was the lady who said $50? You saw that in California?
Oh, yeah.
So I will make it $50. It's just like, okay, we'll just eradicate every business.
Make it 100 or you hate the poor.
At least all the franchisees never work that. It's going to make the business itself, man. Every franchisee is just like, well, there goes my business.
You guys remember in was it 2019-2020 cycle, Bloomberg, I think it was when Bloomberg was
Might as well.
half a billion, and then that woman was on TV and she was like, he put $500 million into this race. That means he could give every American $1 million. And then the anchor was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's how this works at all.
That math doesn't math.
No, it is interesting because I think you're right. It's a political talking point for someone who is in a district where their constituents aren't going to feel the difference, right? Like if you're representing the wealthiest county in America, and now we can all say, oh great, so you should raise the minimum wage, you know, it's mostly to pat yourself on the back and pretend like you're doing a good thing.
Yeah. And the problem is that because of this narrative, because of the advertising, because of the fact that the media doesn't do their job, I had a room full of students come to my office and they were FFA students, future farmers and ranchers. And they said, what's some of the biggest legislation that's going to affect minimum wage increase? And I asked these students, I said, how many people in the labor force, what percentage of the labor force do you think makes minimum wage? And the average estimate they gave me was 50%. I said, it's less than 3%. And out of those 3% making minimum wage, the vast majority of them will not be making minimum wage 6 months from now, as long as they can keep the job. Because that's how upward economic mobility works. But if you take the...
That's a horrible argument. 3% making minimum wage. How about what percent of those people make very close to minimum wage? Being 1 penny more than minimum wage does not work for your argument. This guy's a moron. That's so stupid. No, what you need to do is look at the minimum wage, the average wage of the American worker. What is the median wage of American workers? Oh, it's pretty high actually. 7,000 per year. Median hourly wage. $20 an hour. Look at this. Oops, that's it. Go to the right. The median hourly wage is $20. So basically, the 50% of the population of all of American workers are making $20.57 per hour or less. That is 50% of the population. You see how I can easily debunk this guy's argument just by changing the way you ask the question? Yeah, 1%, 2% is making minimum wage, but everybody else, up to 50% of the population, is making minimum wage plus 57 cents. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Them out of the labor market at the very beginning because now they can't get a job or they can't get sufficient
They're not
hours.
in the market, they can't go up.
They can't go up, right? But that's okay. They got a welfare check for that.
So it was Mara Gay from the New York Times talking to Brian Williams. This is the New York Times. So the
why did they fact check that?
I believe the clip has since been deleted by everybody. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. But
Circled the wagons on that
the
one.
quote was, let me see if I can pull up the quote. During her discussion with Williams, the former New York City Bloomberg's campaign, blah, blah, blah. But then she suggested that Bloomberg could have given each of the 327 million Americans $1 million and still had money left over, which would have been better. Better use of his cash? Yeah, no. And then...
More numbskulls.
Oh, what was this? Was it... Oh, Brian Williams, I think he brought up something saying that it's an incredible way of putting it. And Gay, for a part, agreed. It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true. It's disturbing. It does suggest what we're talking about here, which is that there's too much money in politics. These are the people that are at the New York Times and MSNBC. And so if you wonder why it is, they lie and they're dumb. Well, it's because of the people they hire. The New York Times editorial board member saying it is true Didn't everyone? I think it was like $1.27.
They couldn't even buy anything off the dollar. That's too.
There is no dollar.
There's no dollar value.
Well, we always, kind of in a dark humor way, it's these minimum wage increases should be called the no kiosk left behind bills, because the more difficult you make it to hire somebody, and it's not just the wage component, it's all the different rules.
Beating this guy.
Oh, it's all the
That
different
is
rules. It's all the
private
different
property.
restrictions. Every time you do that, what you're telling small business owners is, we're going to make hiring somebody a bigger liability for you. So find somebody else.
You see it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody
lived
tweeted
through all
recently
that.
that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
Got it. Let's put it up on
Yeah.
the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way to put it.
It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true. It's disturbing. It does suggest, what we're talking about here, which is there's too much money in politics, and it makes it difficult because what we want in
These people vote.
Wow.
They're kind of agreeing with me where they say there's too much money in politics. That causes corrupt government rules, and that's basically what I'm saying. That is the root problem. And if we're gonna always ignore the corrupt politics, the corrupt government, the bribing of the politicians, then you'll never fix anything, because you're just you're putting a band-aid on a problem that is just gonna keep like you've got a cut and you're putting a band-aid on it. Like you have you have an infected wound and you put a band-aid on it to cover it up so nobody sees it, but it's still gonna kill you. That's what it is. You're not gonna treat the infection by putting a band-aid on it. You're just covering it up. And that's what the hike of minimum wage is. And these guys, they're right, minimum wage will do nothing, but they're morons because that's not the problem. They're saying that there's no problem, but there's an infection, and Tim Pool wants to ignore the infection. He's not going to point out the corrupt government.
Votes.
They have TV shows.
She's right. She's an editorial board member of the New York Times.
And they mentioned in the first article that I guess afterwards she tweeted like buying calculator BLT, which I appreciate the self-deprecating humor. On the other hand, you went on national television and were like, and this is true. I read it on the social media. Like,
and they all, like, the producers didn't catch it. There's like 2 producers that has to go through before it gets to Brian Williams. He reads it on the air and he's like, wow. And she's like, yeah.
This really fits into our narrative nicely.
It's all yours.
It's crazy how that worked out.
That's just so crazy.
Take care of this reality.
Yeah. But these are the people fact
But it's true.
Yeah.
I want to go to the reality where they live underground and it's super high tech and they have like high-speed magnetic rail trains and stuff. I just have jump reality where idiots run the show. I don't know, not everybody's an idiot who's running the show. I just see the
It was
idiocy.
$1.53. 500 million divided by 3. Arizona iced tea.
Can you now? I feel like that went up too.
It's about
chaos has been lifted.
Yeah.
Well, you
buy
have
Bitcoin
change
with it.
left.
Yeah, you could buy $1.53 of Bitcoin, which
be
is
worth
like
like $2 next year.
.0000000. It's remarkable.
I do think you guys talk about kiosks as just in the bathroom, but this whole raising the minimum wage is just bringing in the age of automation. Employees are pulling out.
Yeah.
The minimum wage workers on its way out.
Well, and we were talking about it before. I think, okay, again, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure I read something where that $20 minimum
Got
wage
here as fast as I
in
could.
California, that there was a special thing that was put in there about baking
Not even
bread.
Tisiphone could stop you.
And if
Your father-
I think it was
He's
like if you
difficult
bake
to
bread
please,
on
that much is
site,
true.
Yeah,
you're not
What
subject to the same minimum wage
Depends
laws.
on
And
family.
oh, by the way, Panera gave a ton of money to
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom.
The CEO of Panera is a huge Newsom donor.
Yeah.
This is the only way out. In fact, the bill got proposed and then got brought back to.
Notice how they pointed out that the government was bribed by the owner of a corporation, and then all of a sudden that corporation got an exemption on minimum wage laws. Suspicious? Or the root problem?
Tables, they were like, except for places that you bake your own bread, you don't have to do this.
Keep in mind, Panera once opened up a shop in New York City. They opened up a store somewhere where you just right? It was going to be this very, yeah, it was.
Is that store still open?
It is not.
Interesting.
It turns out a lot of the hipsters going in there decided they couldn't paint anything.
John Bon Jovi. They just kept seeing the meme over and over. I don't know if the restaurant's still open. I should know.
So the latest reporting is that Panera will raise their wages, but that's the story from Bloomberg. Yeah, out there, Red Duck, California,
I love that they want to do it, but they don't have to.
They don't have to, but who are they going to hire? I mean, if you're an employee that's looking for a job, are you going to go to Panera where you don't get paid? Like,
if you bake the bread and sell it as a standalone item.
Oh, I was waiting for like McDonald's, Burger King. It's like, hey, would you like a roll with your meal? Like they're gonna have like one little stove in there.
But think about it. They cook one, double arch roll every morning.
Yeah.
And it's 10.
Let me point out what the problem is. If you created your own stand and you sold food anywhere near any of these restaurants, they would have the police on you in minutes, and they would be either arresting you and sending you to prison, or you leave the premises and stop your business. That is why these corrupt corporations can exist with their inflated prices, because they have no competition. And how do they have no competition? Is because any American cannot just make their own business on the side without getting arrested and sent to prison. That's the number one problem. They have too many goddamn corrupt government regulations that make it impossible for any business, any individual, any American to do business on the side. Of course, they have those stands that are like illegal, but most of those are with illegal immigrants on the side, and cops don't go after illegal immigrants apparently. And usually they stay far away next to those farms where all the illegal immigrants work on the farms, so they're able to make a business. But any American that's selling to Americans, he would have to do it in plain sight next to next to those restaurants, next to busy areas, and there is where they enforce the law. They do not enforce the law out in the fields where illegal immigrants are, and it's hard to make an American business work there selling to illegals when you're competing against illegal immigrants. I mean, it's common sense, but these people are just skirting around the actual root cause of the problem.
$, and then they're sold out.
Yeah.
Let's hear it, Father.
That's all they got to do.
It's broken along with the ice cream.
Those wretches of Tartarus cannot
Bon
be relied
Jovi's restaurant
upon.
is still open. It's called the JBJ
Let's see
Soul
here.
Kitchen. It's open. It's a community non-profit restaurant.
Yeah.
Pay what you will.
Yeah.
Should
People
help.
that can't pay, they invite them to pay what they can.
And what if that is nothing?
Yeah.
I think that they feed them anyway. It looks like it's a non-profit, so maybe it's fun.
That's
good
enough
tax
for us.
write-off for him.
Yeah, exactly. What
There.
it is. It's a business.
No.
Necessarily, not supposed
That's
to.
another thing. There are more churches than actual businesses, and it's because these ultra-rich people use them as tax write-offs. So what they do is they buy property, they build up their church, and all that money, it's their personal assets. And the way they use this as a loophole is, instead of paying like $10 million in taxes for the $1 billion in profit, they buy a $10 million church with property, and then they pay 0% tax. Loopholes. You know who cannot buy property with their money, their charity money? Average American citizen. They can't be donating their money to charity and take a 100% tax write-off on all their taxes. If it was allowed, if they had equality for every American, then nobody would pay taxes. It'd be 0% taxes, and the government would get zero taxes. But obviously, the only reason why they allow corporations to do it is because they're bribing the hell out of those politicians. Every politician gets paid 1,000 times more than they get paid for actually being in office by bribes.
No, it's just supposed to
You know
help.
how those go.
Nonprofits are great opportunities.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.
I hope you guys like my commentary. Comment below if you have any suggestions. If you don't want me to comment or have those videos, just let me know. Make a comment. I'll just stop doing those videos because it's not that big of a deal to me. It's just like a hobby. Well, I think a hobby is. I think playing games is a hobby for literally everybody. If you're playing games because it's your job, wow, that's pretty sad. Maybe it's a job hobby, but not. Nobody hates playing games except for journalists. No, just kidding.
Ready. Time to make some changes around here. Which way? More of you, huh? How's that? And we're off.
Boss time, extra hard this time.
Here goes nothing.
I got here right away. Who wants to get rocked? Nice one. Take care, okay?
Dude, that sucked. That dude was hitting anybody but the target. Jeez.
Olympus, I accept this message. Olympus, I accept this message. grant me strength. I won't have it. Look at all that coin. I have longed to hear the sound of your hiss, Lenny. Nice. Enjoy your magma bath. Nice.
The Bloodless failed to stop you once again.
Maybe I should switch. Get out of this damn heat. Another day or night in paradise.
more strongbows.
This should work.
For you, boss. You're the boss.
The haste of Hermes. No, it's the butterfly chamber. Better stay away from me. My senses sharpen. Stay dead. Olympus, I accept this message.
You chose to die in glory. Ah, yes. A question, if you don't mind, stranger.
Because I've had one nagging at me since we last discussed this.
Well, from what I gathered, sir, after you fell...
So then, he threw away.
You should know, sir. You were buried together.
Our ashes, you say?
Thanks. Something's amiss.
It's time. I got the message that you need assistance, Zagreus. Let's get to it then.
Absolutely. There we go.
Don't die here, Zagreus. Say nothing. Situation is under control. You beat me once again.
Why not? No thanks. Olympus, I accept this message. Big crowd, huh?
He would pit you against me, Asterius. I can see it in his mismatched eyes. I cannot shake the terrible vision that someday or night it shall be me standing alone here whilst you take sides against me with that fiend.
Asterius, about that, please consider it a standing offer if you like. I'd rather have you as a friend than as a foe. Not sure that I can say the same for Theseus, of course.
You poisonous worm! I knew you had a more sinister trick at play, because your fighting style certainly is of no concern just on its own. We owe everything to our audience! Stand and fight! yourself.
Load it up.
Monster! You have no bearing and no grace or courage! Gods of Olympus, I shall stop this monster!
I guess they're testing me.
Curse you!
That'll teach him. Look at this. I'm almost to the top. Got it.
I think I'm doing pretty good. Just don't have the duo boom that I'm trying to get.
I've reached the surface. Should stock up for the road ahead. Should check this way. Hello? And Father thinks my chambers are a mess. Medusa?
Your gal's right here. It sure beats me. Oh.
We'll chat later, okay?
Wrong one! I only have 3 boons on my main bar, and Poseidon is one of them. So it gave me Poseidon Lightning. So the next one's gonna be Artemis and Lightning. It's gonna be Archimedes and Poseidon. This duo is lightning and storm, so Poseidon and Zeus. Only getting it to block in case it gives me a double again.
Pleasure doing business. Change of plan.
Another thunder.
Try this way. Found it fast this time. Now back to Cerberus. In the name of Hades.
Give it to me. No dice.
Yum. I can leave or explore more tunnels. Here's the fee.
The monster's a solitary weak.
Thanks, boy. You're never late, Father.
Not one of my overseers managed to stop you again. Must I do everything myself? Darkness.
This again.
Wretches on my authority.
Not now.
Darkness. Poseidon! Who dares attack my nephew?
can't do that right now.
Decided! Harness the ocean's might!
Got you!
That does it!
Father.
You can't withstand me. This is for your own good. Go back. Prepare. Zagreus? Decided! It's time to make a splash. You see. Blast. I shall see you back at home. I'll get you yet.
I wonder if you don't use Pack the Punishment, he'll brag about that.
By my father's name.
Gee, I didn't get very many duels this time. Only one. Weird. Only use 6 heat. If I use 0, I wonder if he'd brag. Fishing.
Sure, why not?
Come on, be good. Nope. Nope. Dang, so many bosses. 3 bosses. 3 red
Got me
area
a bass.
Woo. That was actually a pretty good run.
Filled with such confidence, the prince neglected to avoid, stepping on a toxic strain of fungus. So rare, you'd not have heard of it.
Death by fungus, come on.